So I just poured 3 hours of my life into the plague-ridden world of Wuchang Fallen Feathers on my live stream as of last night. And brother in Christ, I died a lot. Make no mistake, this game is absolutely brutal, it's demanding, and it has a few tricks up its sleeve that will make you want to see if your controller can go flying. Because last night, man, you get my chat, they were laughing because I was crashing out for how difficult this game was. It's a total roller coaster because, you know, it's that thrill of victory, and then it's just like right after you win, you're like, yeah, this is cool, I think I'm understanding the mechanics. No, you get hit with this soul crushing defeat. But the bigger question is it actually good? The Souls-like genre is packed these days, and every new game has to prove it belongs. Is the combat satisfying enough to make the pain worthwhile? Is there a story worth digging for under all that cryptic lore? Well, I kind of did the hard work for you, as my first impressions of just the first my first 3 hours just playing it. I tried to do most of the side quest fight. I got into like, I think technically three boss battles, and I fought every monster. So this overall is like kind of a first impressions of just what I already experienced and whether you should be able to get into it. Right now, I'm just going to break down everything from like the story that I've seen so far, the combat, and just to help you really decide if Wuchang Fallen Feathers is worth your time and, more importantly, your money. Now, I will always say this at the jump. You can buy this game on Steam. Currently, it's sitting at about like 120,000 concurrent players. I did play this on Xbox Game Pass because it was a day one Game Pass. So if you have Game Pass, you want to check it out, you can check it out there, or you want to check it out on Steam. But before we start doing anything, let's go through the video. I kind of want to do a quick little deep dive of my experience playing Wuchang Fallen Feathers. So right from the jump, Wuchang Fallen Feathers throws you into this chaotic final years of China's Ming Dynasty. This is a real historical period marked by war and disaster. The game takes that grim reality, slathers it in this supernatural horror, which is this mysterious plague called the Feathering Disease, which is tearing through the land of Shu. Now, when I heard about Shu, I was just like, oh man, my Dynasty Warriors people, I'm a Shu boy myself in Dynasty Warriors, man. So I was like, no, man. Not my land of Shu getting washed away with this disease. And it honestly doesn't just kill people though, it drives them absolutely mad, twisting their bodies into this feathered monsters. Now, our gooning character here is Bai Wuchang, a pirate warrior who wakes up on a shore with amnesia, but a very real case of the feathering disease. Her name itself is a reference to white impermanence of Chinese folklore, which hints at a connection to the spirit world, setting a bleak, judgmental tone for the journey that's up ahead. You're currently on a mission, right? A desperate two-part mission, exact. Find a cure for your affliction and piece together your own forgotten past. Honestly, the world itself is honestly the star of the show. You start in places that look deceptively beautiful, but the deeper you go, the more the rot sets in. The environments slide from historically inspired villages into pure horror scapes. The art is stunning, drawing from Chinese paintings to create a world that's both gorgeous and deeply unnerving. The level design is a clear nod to games like Bloodborne, right? When I was playing it on live, I was just like, man, this gives me Bloodborne vibes. This huge interconnecting map full of shortcuts that kind of give you that aha moment that you expect from most Souls games. And then you can come back to like, you can go back into like older areas, or it allows just simple shortcuts. The world is begging to be explored, and it rewards you with secrets, lore, and resources that you would desperately need. Unlike some of its cousins in the genre, Wuchang tells the story a bit more directly with more cutscenes and characters to talk to. Very similar to like From Software. Some software has a way of like letting the story kind of like you have to kind of figure it out overall. But what Wuchang does, it kind of like skips the hiding the lore aspect of it and just giving it to you right away. But it still relies heavily on those environmental clues, the cryptic item descriptions, scattered memories to fill in the blanks, because you do have to pay attention to piece together this full tragedy. The world is steeped in Chinese mythology, where ancient demons and forgotten gods are just as real as the warring armies. The atmosphere is thick with despair, and honestly, it is a perfectly blood-soaked stage for the game's brutal combat. Now, let's get to the main event of any Souls-like, the combat. Short answer, it's fast, a bit flexible, but I will say this, it is very, very frustrating. Now, let me elaborate, right? Wuchang's combat is an aggressive dance that feels like a mix of Bloodborne's relentless offense and Neo's like stylish flair. It's all built around a system that rewards you for just taking big risks. Your most powerful moves are fueled by a resource called Skyborn Might, which you mainly get by pulling off perfectly timed dodges called shimmers, or just by landing a specific combo. This creates a thrilling loop that you have to dance with death, slipping past an attack at the last second to earn the power to unleash all types of hell. When it clicks, it feels amazing, turning a desperate defense into an explosive counterattack. Now, as right now, from what I have seen so far, I've seen 5 main weapon types in the game. There's your longsword, you get your one-handed swords, dual blades, axes, and spears, and each feels totally unique. Interestingly enough, your defensive options are tied to your weapon. For instance, some longswords can parry, while axes can block. This means your weapon choice completely changes how you play the game. You could equip 2 weapons at once, swap between them with a swift draw attack for some flashy combos. And this all ties into quite an impressive skill tree that expands upon those weapons. Its huge sprawling system gives you a ton of freedom to just overall customize your build. Better yet, you can even respec your skills at any shrine, which just encourage you to experiment and tailor your loadout for specific bosses without fearing of messing up your characters permanently. Now, for the game's most unique and potentially divisive feature, the madness system, because this system made me go mad so much during my live stream. This isn't just for flavor, it's honestly quite a core mechanic, and it took me a while to really understand what's going on. And it acts as a dynamic difficulty setting, right? So when you think about dying, right? When I was live streaming this, I was like, man, when you think of like Demon Souls and Dark Souls, every time you die, your character becomes a little bit more hollow, you know? In this case, every time you die or kill a non-feathered human, your madness level increases. Killing the monstrous feathered enemies, however, brings it down. As your madness climbs, you'll see demonic marks appear on Wuchang's body. Now, that's the crazy part, right? Because in your skills that you'll learn is also based on how much madness you have. For an example, once you reach about 90% madness, you enter this high risk, high reward state where you deal way more damage, but you also take way more in return. You'll also get this red mercury, which is this game's version of souls or XP from the enemies you kill. Now, if you push your luck and die with max out madness, the game hits you with quite an extra punishment, which is an inner demon. Now, this is a hostile doppelganger of yourself, spawns at your death site, holding your lost red mercury. You have to beat this powerful mirror image of yourself just to get your stuff back. This demon will attack anything nearby, not just you, which you can just sometimes use to your advantage by luring it into other enemies. The madness system is a wild idea that adds a constant layer of tension. Do you intentionally crank up your madness before a boss for that damage buff, knowing one mistake could just be your last? It takes getting used to, but it adds a compelling layer to the whole experience. And it's just crazy because it also adds to the lore, because once again, this is a madness thing. When you die with full madness, that being is your madness that you're looking at. This is the demon that turned into it, and that just completely outright kills anything that is nearby without a mind. So it's great, like lore wise, it's great mechanic wise, and it's something different, you know. It definitely messed me up quite a few times when I was playing, and I would be coming across a major enemy, and then I forgot that I died to said enemy maxed out, and then boom, now I have the major enemy that is giving me a hard time, and I have my doppelganger. Both of them, either A, they're both staring me down, because sometimes the inner demon won't even attack the other enemy, it would just go right for me. I'm like, bro, there's other people here, stop attacking me. But I will say this though, for all its tough moments, there are times where Wuchang Fall of Feathers just clicks, right? Delivering some of the best highs the genre has to offer. First off, the combat, when it's not making you tear your hair out, it's just genuinely thrilling, right? The core loop of using perfect dodges to build up Skyborn might, then unleashing a flare of weapon skills is just satisfying. Chaining your attacks, swapping weapons mid-combo, weaving in magic makes you feel like an unstoppable warrior. The sheer build variety is a huge plus. The skill tree is robust. The freedom to respec means you always encouraged to try new things, keeping the game fresh for its entire runtime. The world design is another massive win. The land of Shu isn't just a pretty background, it's a character all its own. The art direction is gorgeous, blending that historical Chinese architecture with the grotesque body horror to create a world that is as beautiful as it is terrifying. The levels are intricately connected, pushing through a dark, oppressive area only to kick down a ladder, find yourself back at a familiar shrine, just nails that classic Souls-like feeling. Exploration is always rewarded, whether it's with new gear, piece of lore, or an optional boss fight. Finally, the atmosphere is quite top-notch. The game masterfully builds that sense of creeping dread. You can feel the world slowly getting consumed by the plague. The enemy designs are inspired and genuinely just creepy, pulling from the Chinese folklore to create monsters that you won't forget, right? There's a real weight to this world as a sense of tragedy that makes you just really feel that struggle just being all that more important. When the game was knocking me down, I always wanted to keep pressing on. Like, if you guys watched my stream, I'll actually link it in the video here, but you can really see me always keep trying to come back and come back and come back. I'm like, dude, I need to keep going. Like, even though I was like, I know I can beat these people, I know I can win. So it was actually just really cool. Just that I like when games make me want to keep pressing forward. And just to see what's new, the beautiful horror was always around the corner at every step of the way. Now that was the highs. Now let's talk a little bit about the lows, right? Let's talk about the other side of that coin. For every moment of triumph, there is a moment of pure controller cringing frustration. This is where the game starts to stumble, right? So the single biggest problem is the wildly inconsistent difficulty. The game doesn't really have a difficulty curve so much as a difficulty like graph with like brutal spikes that come out of nowhere. You can cruise through an area feeling like a god only to get completely stonewalled by a boss or just even a random enemy, you know, that just, it was like, bro, like I was just dog walking the other dudes not even 2 minutes ago and I come across this one dude and he's just putting his hands on me. Like, some of the enemies are like super aggressive or like have heavy crazy health bars. Now it was cool seeing like some of the characters talk about particular enemies in the game that was like, hey, you should probably like stay away from them, you know. But I was just like, you know what, it can't be that bad. I'm at the very beginning of the game. No, dog walked me, bruh. And some of the bosses are very aggressive. Some have tiny attack windows. The fight becomes a bit of a tedious waiting game, trying to spend your last few minutes just trying to dodge, wait for the opening, and if you miss it, you're done. This is also made even worse by a couple of baffling design choices. Many bosses are incredibly hard, if not impossible to stagger, right? This completely undermines the game's awesome combo system. Then what's the point of unlocking a flashy combo if a boss just hits you out of the animation on the second swing? It feels demoralizing and discourages the very playstyle the game seems to want you to utilize. On top of that, the player's recovery animation after getting knocked down is incredibly slow, agonizing slow. You have almost no invincibility frames while getting up. This leads to infuriating moments where one mistake gets you stun-locked and killed before you can even move your character. It feels cheap, you know? It's the kind of difficulty that isn't challenging, just unfair. It crosses the line from a test of skill into a test of patience. And while the story is more present than in some Souls-likes, the way it's told can feel a bit scattered. NPCs pop up in random spots to just dump lore, making it tough to follow what's going on unless you're like really taking notes, like mental notes. For players who are into reading every item description, the plot can feel a bit disjointed. These issues don't really break the game, but they're serious cracks and otherwise a solid experience. Now, I know the argument can be said about Bloodborne and Dark Souls 1 through 3 and even Demon Souls, but Miyazaki's mind and like the way he built those games is like they're this way the story, they don't really throw the story at you. You're experiencing it and you're finding out through environmental clues, which for some people can be a little bit on the difficult side. But when a game like this, in a sense, where they're throwing the story at you, and even when you're giving me the story and it still feels very scattered, it's kind of hard to really keep up. So I'm trying my best, even when I was streaming, to really get a better idea for what's going on here. So after my initial live stream, the 3 hours or so, my final word is whether Wuchang Fallen Feathers is a game of brilliant ideas and flawed execution. It's incredibly ambitious, even when it doesn't quite stick the landing. It's spectacular to watch. The combat is fluid, the world is a masterclass in atmospheric design, and the build variety is incredible. But the punishing difficulty spikes and the unfair mechanics to turn an exhilarating challenge into a tedious just slog. Like, it's like, brother, what am I doing? So now that begs the question, who is this game actually for? Like I said, based off first impressions, you should buy this game if you're a hardcore Souls-like veteran. If you love the challenge of Sekiro, Liza P, the build variety of Neo, you like Elden Ring, you'll find a lot to love here. If you're the kind of player who just enjoys banging your head against a boss for hours to get that perfect run, Wuchang's brutality will be a feature, not a bug for you, you know? If you have the patience to see past its rough edges, you'll find one of the most interesting atmospheric games in the genre. Now, on the other hand, you should wait for a sale. Keep in mind, like I said, it is free on Game Pass, but for all of my peeps who do not have Game Pass, you should wait for a sale if you're a fan of the genre, but you get frustrated by like cheap feeling difficulty. If the idea of a boss that won't flinch or get stun locked to death sounds more annoying than fun, you might want to wait. Patches could smooth out the roughest edges and make for a much better experience. The core of the game is excellent, but letting it bake a little longer might be a smart move. Now, last of that coin is you should probably skip this game if you're new to Souls-likes or have a low tolerance for frustration. Wuchang is not a welcoming starting point. Its complex systems and punishing difficulty will likely turn you off from the game. There are more polished games out there to try before you brave the lands of Shu and dive deep into Wuchang. Definitely try out any other Souls-like before jumping into this one, because you might get frustrated very quickly and just turn away from the game. But ultimately, Wuchang Fallen Feathers is a commendable and ambitious game from Lianzi Games. I'm glad I played it. I played it day one, the day at launch, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't have to put the controller down and almost want to punch something. And like I said, you can check it out on stream. I was getting frustrated. I tried it, so you know exactly what you're getting into. But other than that, thanks for watching. What do you think about Wuchang? Are you planning to dive in? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you like this little first look, deep dive, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. And as always, Outcast, I want you to stay safe out there. And it's been your host, KICTV, signing out. Peace.